In this episode, we've got more heavy rain impacting the same areas that have seen the floods as of late, but we have temporary relief for others heading into next week with a cold front heading south. Welcome back, everyone. POW Ponder on Weather here. Hope everyone is having a fabulous weekend. This is your Saturday morning update. So we got a lot to cover in this episode. So let's kind of really delve into the details and take you back on where we've been. And this is the last 30 days of precipitation for the U.S. And man, those areas in the purple here have just been crushed. Those that impacting, you can see the graph on the far right-hand corner of the screen. Those areas in purple, you're talking 15, 20, 25 inches of rain. This is just in the last 30 days, folks. It's just been relentless in places into, portions of Missouri and to southern Illinois, portions of Indiana, but especially right there in Kentucky and even further to the south. They've been inundated hard while the monsoon season has been really alive and prevalent, while much of Oklahoma and Texas has been bone dry with little to very little rain. And going forward, man, if we really zoom into those areas that really got hit hard, you can really see the true impact of what's happening down there. So places like into St. Louis, this is above average rainfall over the last 30 days. They've picked up almost a foot more than what they would normally see in this time span. But as you head further south, these areas, all these areas in blue are anywhere from 4 to 6 to 8. I mean, the bullseye right there is Hazard, Kentucky, almost 15 inches of rain. So just no wonder they've just been seeing the unprecedented historic floods out there. And unfortunately, we've got more heavy rain impacting the same areas, and it's pouring in those same areas this morning. And if we really zoom in, it's just been completely the opposite, really, since summer started, as Texas has been taking the full brunt of this La Nina and this bone dry pattern further south. And they've it's been a brutal summer with little to no rain. In fact, it'd be 64 days in a row now. That little donut here right there in the Dallas-Fort Worth area has received nothing, not a measurable drop at DFW Airport since June the 3rd. That is literally 64 days. And just in and around those areas, you can see a huge swath of Texas has just been bone dry, as we're locked in this kind of the same pattern just over and over and over again. So if we kind of expand the view and take a look at what's happened as far as the hazard map today, yeah, there's that ridge of high pressure just dominating the Central Plains. That's a little bit further north. So, and we do have some higher dew points. So places into Omaha, that's where they do have those excessive heat warnings taking shape this morning into the afternoon hour with dangerous conditions of heat indexes of 110 plus. And yeah, we've got more flood watches, if not flood warnings, happening right now in those same areas that have picked up those foot and over 15 inches above average of what you'd normally see. Those areas, again, are going to be crushed with very heavy rain. This is the last thing they need. All those areas has just been ravaged as of late. And we've got more of these systems coming in over the next couple of days. We take a look at the overall satellite picture this morning. It's just been a relentless stream of this Gulf moisture, and lifts surging further from the south, heading to the north. You've got these little boundaries, those little disturbances has been heading from the northwest and just been kind of clocked over these same areas, and all those higher cloud tops just ringing over the same areas. And these are little slow training, moving thunderstorms. I mean, they just, once they get going, it's just prolific rain amounts. And just impacting with very heavy rain in a short amount of time. So if we actually zoom in some of those areas, this is the current radar this morning in essentially eastern Kentucky. All these areas in green here, that is your flash flood warning, where they're just getting some very, unfortunately, heavy rain. And some of those same areas in eastern Kentucky where they just don't really need a drop. So this is not a good sign, folks, that all those ravaged areas that have seen all the floodwaters as of late is really getting more heavy rain, just compounding those impacts in that area. So if we really kind of expand the view on the U.S. front headed into this afternoon, again, we just have these series that'll pop up. Now we're talking about daytime heating, getting a little bit more heat up in the atmosphere. So places in the southeast will see this kind of popcorn variety thunderstorms and then impacting Tennessee, Kentucky, back into portions of West Virginia. We've seen the monsoonal flow really start to get active, especially as we start getting into the afternoon hours. But there's also a new concern up here into portions of Minnesota, getting into portions of northern Iowa, especially heading into Wisconsin and portions of Michigan over the next couple of days. We're going to be seeing these series of boundaries as well. So we could be looking at new flooding risk up here with some very heavy rain compounding over the next 2 days with these series of disturbances. So as we head into even tomorrow afternoon for your Sunday, this is about noon time frame. Again, we see more popcorn variety thunderstorms down here in the portions of the southeast. We see this frontal boundary lifting, coming in from the north here. Along that frontal boundary, we do have some very heavy rain that's going to be impacting, and some of these, again, could be some slow moving systems impacting this up into the upper Midwest. So I'm definitely concerned about some floods and some flood warnings happening up here with some rising flood water. So definitely be on high alert up here in the upper Midwest. And so as we go through into a Monday, you can kind of see where the cold front is, right? So this is right along this boundary. We're going to have a kind of a squall line, if you will, not really severe, but just you're going to have some sort of lift in the atmosphere to overrun that system. We've got plenty of heat. So, once you have some sort of lift, some sort of mechanism, some sort of trigger to lift some of that moisture out of the atmosphere, it doesn't take much to wring out. But you got to have that lift. Without the lift, you're just going to be sitting high and dry until then. But there's the lift with that, cold front pushing down to the southeast as we head towards, Monday morning. But yeah, overall for the next 2 days, yeah, this is your concern, right? So we've got these series of bands of system in Tennessee and Kentucky, back into West Virginia, even portions of southern Ohio here. But there's also another band with these successive disturbances that are coming across. This could be a new area of concern with some very heavy rains, and then those areas will, impacting those creeks and streams. So definitely be on high alert up here into especially central Minnesota into southern Minnesota, but especially into Wisconsin. Even central Wisconsin seems to be one of the bullseyes, if you will, with some heavy rain, up maybe even upwards to 4, 5, 6 inches, even upwards to isolated 8 amounts just over the next 2 days. So definitely concerned about flood ravaged waters out there. But further to the south, you can actually see that cold front kind of on the move. So where they've been just locked in over the triple digits in much of Oklahoma. I think Oklahoma City hit 21 days now this year of 100 degrees or better. And in Texas, those numbers are double that. But yeah, it's a good sign. You actually see some blue in the map. That means actually cooler than average conditions, which was actually been a while since you've even seen or experienced that further to the south. So those cooler conditions, not cold by any of the stretch of the imagination, but anything below 100 is a welcome sign for these areas, as this cold front will at least bring some temporary changes for those areas. So, but yes, as we go into Tuesday, you can see where that cold front's going to be elongated. Yeah, bringing some much needed rain into Oklahoma. That will start creeping in into far extreme portions of Texas along the Red River. But unfortunately, you got more heavy rain going to be impacting those areas into the Ohio Valley. More rain pushes back into Kentucky, unfortunately, back into Tennessee. So these same areas are going to be hit hard again. So but as we go into Wednesday, there's your temperatures. Like I mentioned, it's not cold by any of the stretch of imagination, but hey, lower 90s beats mid 100s all day long. So that's definitely a good sign to see that in Oklahoma. Average temperatures basically in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Can't even find 100 degree on the map. So that's definitely been rare as of late. So it's temporary, but it's at least something to look forward to further south that's just been crushed with that brutal summer. But as we go into, there's your Wednesday map with the rain. So I think your best chance, if you are going to end the streak, say in Dallas, because they've been looking at 64 days now, would be Wednesday. I think that's the highest probability potential that you could see some rain. And it's not even much. It's maybe 40% chance of rain. But hey, it's not 0 and it's not 10%. So 40% of rain could be impacting some of those areas that desperately need the rain. But again, that's just going to be adding more heavy rain to some of those areas that just simply don't need it. But there's the temperatures on Thursday, kind of the same deal with that cold front. It is a fairly temporary, brief relief from the triple digits. So definitely a welcome sign. So you're talking Tuesday, Wednesday, really into Thursday, before the ridge will start building back in late week. And there's the map on Thursday with that cold front pushing further south. It'll start to kind of lose its steam, pushing further south. It'll stall out. And then again, when it stalls out, it unfortunately brings those poor heavy rain back into portions of Tennessee and back into Kentucky, portions of the Southeast again. So if you summarize everything for you over the next week, so here's the setup. So here's Alaska. They actually had their first winter storm warning up here in far northern extremes of Alaska. So we're in the first week of August. Hey, that's just a sign of things to come. So eventually that's just a sign of fall is on the way by next month. And so eventually some of that colder air will at least funnel into the United States. But hey, it's also a good sign that, hey, we're starting to see our first winter storm of the season. But that's in far extreme northern parts of Alaska. But further south, they've been still impacting what those extreme heat advisories up here for the next couple of days up here into the Pacific Northwest. But there's those heavier rains going to be impacting what the monsoonal flow out in the desert Southwest, or extreme heat building back in the midsection of the country, back into parts of the Dakotas, into Nebraska over from August 9th through about the 11th time frame. And there's those series of heavy rain setups in portions of Wisconsin, as you get into portions of Minnesota, Iowa, but especially heading into central, southern Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, but especially as you head towards Kentucky, Tennessee, West Virginia. That seems to be another bullseye area with more heavy rain going to be impacting those areas, with those heat advisories still locked and loaded over far extremes of the Northeast, where they have been seeing temperatures well up into the 90s as of late. But there's out in the tropics, so things are going to be a little bit starting to get active. It's been very quiet in the Atlantic. The last storm has been all the way since Colin. That was over a month ago. And so this is just an African wave that's coming off the coast. So this only gives you about a 20% chance. But if this does come to fruition, this would be Danielle later on down the line. But this is a long ways out. And if we kind of zoom into some of the latest guidance, there's that tropical wave wouldn't actually even be approaching the islands here until closer towards the end of the week. So we got plenty of time to track Danielle, whatever comes to fruition. The ensembles are trying to hint at a little bit something trying to happen, but again, this is just a long ways out. It's over a week, if not 2 weeks out, before it even starts to get even closer towards the United States, if it does. So, but I do feel things are going to be starting to get more active as you head towards the end of, middle of August. That's typically when true hurricane season start. You got the meat of the season from mid-August to mid-October. Typically about 65% of the season is left, and about 90% of the storms really happen in that particular time frame. So just because it's been quiet as of late, they are still expecting a well above average season with the new updates that have been coming out from the Colorado State University talking about 18 named storms. So we still got a well above average hurricane season on the table. Things are really quiet right now, which is definitely a good thing to see. So, hey, I appreciate you guys watching. Do like this video. Definitely leave your comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel to catch the latest update where I protect you before and after storm.